When the princess consort gave birth at the same hour, I, a mere foot-washing maid, suddenly awakened the bullet screen ability. The princess consort is coming to take the male lead. Only by growing up beneath her knee will he become a great man. This vicious supporting woman is unworthy of raising the male lead. Indeed, he needs a mother of power and prestige. A lowly creature like her will only ruin his life. As expected, before long, the princess consort personally came to exchange the infants. And I remained indifferent, unmoved in the slightest. Because I had been reborn. In my previous life, I once pleaded with all my heart, only wishing to keep my son by my side. Yet when he grew up, he blamed me for denying him a noble birth, and in the end, he coldly killed his own mother. This life, such a thankless wretch. Whoever wants him may raise him as they please. A faint groan escaped my throat as I abruptly awoke, cold sweat drenching my temples. Before me was the familiar ceiling of the birthing chamber, heavy red curtains draping down. Was I not already dead? The princess consort is coming. Today is the day she will take the male lead. Such a vicious mother is unworthy to raise the future heir. Begone. He needs power. The princess consort is his true mother. The wicked woman only drags him into the mud. I had returned to the very day I bore him. In my past life, the princess consort and I had given birth on the same day. She delivered a little princess, while I brought forth a little imperial grandson. At that time, it was the critical moment when the prince vied for the throne. He had been married for years without a single child. To him, a son of imperial blood was invaluable. Alas, the child had come from my belly, a lowly foot-washing maid, favored but once by blind fortune. The princess consort proposed we exchange the infants. Thus the princely household would gain a legitimate heir, strengthening the prince's claim, while my child would be sheltered by an illustrious maternal clan. But in my previous life, I could not bear it. Despite my frail body after childbirth, I fought desperately to seize my child back from her wet nurse's arms. I clung to him like a drowning woman to the last piece of driftwood. I hoarsely begged, pressing trembling lips to his tender brow, choking out my vow. Mother will protect you. Mother will give you the best of everything. Mother. But in the end, what came of it? Mother. That scornful, cold laughter still seemed to echo in my ears, accompanied by his proud, disdainful gaze. What did you ever give me? The status of a foot-washing maid's son. A mother trampled and despised by every servant in the manor. This is the best you promised me. When the blade pierced my chest, he merely watched me fall, no warmth in his eyes. His lips, cold as frost, delivered the final judgment. Why did you ever give birth to me? Why did you not let me be born of the princess consort? This life, such an ungrateful wolf. Whoever wishes to keep him, let them. My heart was as cold and unyielding as iron. A delicate hand drew aside the heavy curtain. The princess consort had arrived. She wore a robe of pale blue cloud-patterned brocade, her hair neatly coiled, no trace of a woman who had just labored through birth. You have suffered, younger sister, she said softly. But her eyes, betraying her urgency, passed over my body to settle on the bundled infant at my side, my son. The male lead that the bullet screen never ceased to proclaim would one day achieve greatness. The child still slept, tiny lips parting in a faint whimper. She is here. Look at her gaze. That is the look of a true mother upon her heir. Yes, yes. Such an overwhelming presence. The vile woman must leave. The male lead finally returns to his destined mother. Applause. The bullet screen seethed with praise for the princess consort and scorn for me. Behind her stood the stern-faced wet nurse, bearing an open rosewood chest that revealed dozens of gleaming gold ingots. The princess consort stepped forward, her gaze finally resting on my pallid face, her contempt high and unrestrained. Your frail body will never be enough to care for the imperial grandson. Her voice was soft as a breeze, yet each word cut like a blade upon my skin. In my view, this child seems fated for me. Why not let me take him beneath my roof, to share in my fortune, so he may grow up with prospects worthy of him? In my past life, those words sparked the fire that drove me to guard my child at any cost. But now, I merely closed my eyes in weary surrender. She is right. I heard my own voice answer, calm and hollow. I am of low birth, my body unfit to care for the little imperial grandson. That your highness pities him is his good fortune. What? The wicked woman agreed. She didn't go mad. This is not how the story is meant to unfold. Something is wrong. How can she be so calm? The bullet screen raved in frenzy, distorted letters streaming past my vision. The princess consort looked briefly astonished. She had not expected me to be so compliant. The old nurse, too, was taken aback, her hands halting on the chest of gold. Yet the princess consort, after all, was the princess consort. In the next moment, she recovered her composure, her expression smoothing into a faint, satisfied smile. Younger sister, to understand the greater good so clearly, it is no small thing. Rest assured, everything in the household has been arranged properly. Today, since I have given the prince a legitimate heir, and you have rendered service by bearing a little princess, you shall be granted the rank of secondary consort. As she finished speaking, she gestured to the wet nurse. The woman immediately understood. Madam, this is a small token of Her Highness's regard, for you to nourish your strength. It has come, the classic scene, buying off a mother with gold. TCH, the wicked supporting woman is worth nothing more than this, while the male lead is priceless. The princess consort is truly magnanimous. I gazed up at the canopy in silence, my voice drifting out like a dream. I thank your highness for the reward. The wet nurse laid the little princess at my side, then turned back, deftly gathering the swaddled infant in her arms. Perhaps disturbed by the movement, the child gave a soft cry, tiny limbs twitching against the cloth. Your highness, I called her back. Princess consort, to have the heir follow you is as it should be. But if the little princess remains in this desolate courtyard, I fear it will wrong her. Might it not be better for your highness to take them both, and simply say that I, being frail, am unfit to rear any child? The princess consort's lips curved in a cold smile. No need. That would only arouse suspicion. She is but a girl. Someday she will marry into a good house. That is quite sufficient. With that, she turned to leave. Oh, she is not taking the little princess. Of course not. Didn't she say it herself? What use is a daughter? Straight to the heart. The princess consort only needed a legitimate heir. The princess was always superfluous. Valuing sons over daughters. Even she cannot escape the ways of the world. One can hardly blame her. In the struggle for the throne, a son's worth is 100 times a daughter's. How shrewd the princess consort is. Only, that little girl looks so pitiful, left behind to be raised by the wicked woman. That useless daughter, like a pebble cast into a still pond, stirred a faint ripple in the heart I thought frozen solid. In my past life, that child, the one her own mother cast aside to leave by my side, her image slowly emerged amid the tangle of my memories. Not yet the silent, shadowy princess she would one day become, but the small, delicate girl she had once been. When I was oppressed by the princess consort, scorned by every servant, too ill to rise from my bed, she would not flee in fright. Instead, she hid behind a pillar, her great dark eyes peeking out, eyes that held a sorrow far too deep for so young a child. She pitied me, pitied the woman the world reviled, the so-called wicked mother whom even her own son despised. In time, the princess consort reclaimed her, molding her into a silent, noble daughter of the main line. Those stolen pastries she once slipped to me, those hidden tears, all became little more than dust in memory. A useless daughter. No, princess consort, that child you regarded as refuse, perhaps she is the only warmth I can keep in this second life. Days passed like a cracked jar slowly leaking water into the cold corner of my courtyard, quietly, drop by drop. True to her word, the princess consort needed only one edict to raise me, a lowly concubine from the very bottom of the household, to the nominal rank of honored consort. Now and then, the bullet screen still flickered, trailing that faint, mocking laugh of a spectator. The wicked supporting woman has been promoted and given a raise. But alas, without a son, how steady will her seat be? Let's watch how she teaches the little princess. If she ruins her, it will be hilarious. Better if she ruins her. Less to worry about. I shut my ears to it all. In my past life, I had poured every scrap of my heart into that son, only to receive a blade through it. In this life, every fragment of my care belonged to the little girl they named Xiao Yu. lying beside my pillow. She grew bit by bit, like a blade of grass sprouting from a crack at the foot of a wall, tender yet unyielding. The first time she smiled at me, her tiny mouth still lacking a full set of teeth, that smile was like sunlight piercing my chest, making my eyes sting with unshed tears. Oh, this little one seems rather clever. And what of it? I hear the heir beside the princess consort was learning to read by age 3, with a great scholar as his tutor. Exactly. Their starting points are worlds apart. All the wicked woman can teach her is how to mold clay figures. The jeers continued, yet I felt nothing but serenity. And what if she only learned to mold clay? My Yu, if her face holds a smile, and her eyes still shine, that is enough. When Yu turned 5, the princely household held a grand spring banquet, summoning every noble family of the capital. Perhaps the princess consort felt it was time to present her son, Xiao Duanwen, to the world, and incidentally to let all see what sort of dignity belonged to me, the secondary consort, and to Yu, the little princess. With a single command, we had no choice but to attend. It was the first time in many years that I laid eyes upon Xiao Duanwen. The princess consort led him by the hand. He wore a robe of cloud-patterned brocade, a golden coronet on his head, altogether the image of a flawless young heir. Yet the face that should have been innocent and fresh bore a heaviness unfit for his age. His lips were pressed tight, his eyes cast down and empty. No matter how the hall bustled around him, he gave no sign of life, like a lifelike puppet set out for admiration, with no spirit within. Duanwen, the princess consort, urged gently, though strain tightened her voice, "Come greet your uncles and elders." His small frame gave a shiver. His face turned ashen, lips trembling again and again, yet no words emerged. The banquet hall fell abruptly silent, then began to stir with quiet murmurs. The smile on the princess consort's face froze, as she struggled to salvage the moment. This child, he is merely shy before strangers. So this is the so-called male lead. A genius, as the rumors claimed. So this is it. The princess consort's upbringing, such a failure. With cowardice like this, he dares dream of the throne. Ruined. The narrative is collapsing. The male lead doesn't look well at all. What does it matter? He's still young. The princess consort's strict discipline will surely set him right. The bullet screen seethed with confusion and mounting anxiety. Life in the princely household continued as before, quiet and unremarkable. Yet the Xiaoxiang court, where Yu and I resided, gradually filled with a gentle vitality. When Yu turned 7, she somehow found a sparrow with a broken wing and brought it home. She cleaned the wound with fresh water, clumsy but painstakingly gentle, then bandaged the tiny creature. She kept watch over it for 3 days and nights. When at last the sparrow managed to tremble its wings, Yu leapt into the air, cheering. In that moment, I clearly saw something taking root within her small frame. It was not the oppressive brilliance the princess consort had forced onto Xiao Duanwen, the suffocating aura of an heir, but a genuine vitality, tenacious and unyielding, born from her own blood and bones. "Mother," she declared, hugging the now-healed sparrow in her arms, standing in the courtyard with sunlight in her eyes. "One day, I want to study medicine, to save lives." The little princess wishes to learn medicine. What? A princess of the princely household studying such things. If the princess consort learns of this, she'll be livid. Wasn't the story meant to have the wicked woman ruin the child? Why does she seem well-raised? Well-raised? What nonsense. Medicine is a lowly profession. Meanwhile the heir. Oh, they say he failed his lessons again yesterday, and the prince made him kneel in the ancestral hall all night. The bullet screen resumed its bickering. But as I watched the child with stars in her gaze, my heart was calm as a clear lake. When Yu turned 10, I quietly spent the silver I'd saved over many years to hire a female physician. Every few days, she would visit Xiaoxiang court, teaching the child the rudiments of herbal lore and healing. It was not much, money was scarce, the lessons not rigorous, but Yu studied with bright-eyed devotion. In the courtyard, bundles of herbs slowly multiplied, drying in the sun. Time slipped by to the scent of medicine and the clear voice of Yu reciting her lessons. News of Xiao Duanwen still drifted in now and then, like dry leaves blown by the wind to our quiet corner. "Did you hear? Yesterday at the training ground, the prince scolded the heir terribly, said he drew the bow like a kitten, with no trace of manly spirit, and even threw his bow aside. TCH, not just that, some days back in the study, he wrote such drivel in his essay that the prince turned green with fury and broke the ruler across his back. And the princess consort, she pushes him too hard. They say the heir can't sleep through the night, always waking up murmuring in fear. The servants whispered, their voices tinged with furtive satisfaction. The bullet screen, once so fervent, now held only fretful regret and weak protests. It's over. The male lead is ruined. The princess consort's harshness has backfired. Indeed, a grand destiny turned into a child terrified of any gaze. How will he vie for the throne? He'll be lucky not to be devoured by the other princes. Poor princess consort, so devoted, only to raise a disappointment. Those words, and the bullet screen itself, were like stones thrown into a bottomless lake. They could not stir even the smallest ripple in my heart. What became of Xiao Duanwen had nothing to do with me any longer. When Yu turned 12, an epidemic broke out in the outskirts of the capital. Yu scoured every medical text she could find, and with the female physician, compiled several simple preventative remedies made from herbs common to the region. As for me, I spent what remained of my connections as a secondary consort, quietly asking a few old servants I could trust to gather supplies beyond the eyes of the household. When the plague flared like a wildfire across the city's edges, I stood beneath the courtyard wall and saw Yu rising on tiptoe to spread mugwort leaves on a bamboo tray. 3 days later, the princess consort sent a sudden summons. Yu and the physician were ordered to the front hall at once. I held Yu's hand as we entered, and there upon the dais sat the princess consort, her bearing imperious. Xiao Yu, she called, her voice resonant with the authority of her station. I am well aware of what you and physician Lu have done. She raised her hand. Immediately, the old nurse behind her stepped forward, bearing a golden tray. This is your reward. Take it. Yu stared at the gold and jade pins atop the tray, but did not reach for them. Instead, she lifted her gaze, clear as spring water, to the princess consort. Your Highness, these remedies were devised by physician Lu and myself. Might we be allowed to go to the outer farms to help? To help. The princess consort's smile was soft, as though she'd heard some ridiculous fancy. You are just a little girl. What good would it do for you to meddle in such affairs? She cast a glance toward Xiao Duanwen. The merit of containing this outbreak, she continued coolly, naturally belongs to the heir. Yu's lashes trembled violently. Why? Her voice was small. Why when it was us? Because you are a daughter. The princess consort's tone was calm as polished stone. No matter how capable a girl may be, in the end, her purpose is to be married off and bear children. What value would such achievements have in your name? But the heir is different. He is the one who will inherit the title. If he can claim some credit now, it will serve him well in court someday. Her words were like a dull blade, sawing away the last fragile hopes in Yu's heart. In my past life, I too once believed that if I only gave everything to my son, he would grant me a little warmth in return. But in their eyes, women were forever pawns to be used, sacrificed. What is this? The little princess's credit stolen by the male lead. Why complain? After all, a woman with no talents is virtuous. A princess standing in the limelight. What scandalous impropriety. But this was life-saving merit. To be seized by that useless heir. Useless or not, he is a man. He is the heir to the title, not some little wretch. The bullet screen flashed wildly, like 1,000 thorned whips lashing the air. So, Yu's voice was as soft as a feather. Just because I am a woman, all the merit and toil must be handed over to someone else. Just because I am a woman, I am only fit to marry and bear children. Insolence. The princess consort finally lost her composure. Her voice quivered with wrath. What sort of conduct is this? Xiao Yu, you are a princess of this house, running about day and night. Have you no sense of decorum? Return to your quarters at once. I took Yu's hand, turned in silence, and led her away from that suffocating hall. The poor little princess. The princess consort is truly overbearing. Poor. What nonsense. Rules are rules. It is right that the heir receives the credit. Indeed, what does some little wretch know of the greater good? The greater good. Is that what you call stealing another's accomplishments? TCH. It's over. I have a feeling the little princess is about to turn dark. The wicked woman must be corrupting her. The bullet screen howled like a gale. To me, it was no more than wind passing my ears. On the way back, someone barred our path. Xiao Duanwen. Before us, he no longer wore the timid air he displayed to the world. Arrogance blazed across his features, sharp as a blade. He wore lavish brocade robes, a retinue of servants trailing behind like shadows. He stepped forward, blocking the sunlight that had fallen on Yu Yu's face. You, he began, voice cold. I heard you dared to compete with me for credit. Yu Yu did not reply, lowering her gaze. Her silence seemed to provoke him further. He took another step, voice rising in a shrill sneer. I am speaking to you. What? Are you mute? Watching him then, I thought of the countless times in my previous life he had vented his spite upon powerless servants. Indeed, the princess consort's meticulous teaching had borne its fruit. Compete for credit. At last, Yu spoke. She raised her head and met his gaze directly. Those remedies, she said, her voice steady, were devised by me and physician Lu, night after night, comparing texts and measuring herbs. The ingredients were gathered by my mother, in secret, bit by bit. The medicines used on the farms, we prepared them with our own hands. Your Highness the heir, she emphasized the words with quiet, cutting irony. Tell me, was it I who stole your merit, or you who have stolen mine? Xiao Duanwen was struck speechless, his forced arrogance quivering on the verge of collapse. He had not expected Yu Yu to dare rebuke him to his face. But then he remembered the princess consort's constant instruction. You are the heir, the future prince. All must bow before you. Insolence. He shrieked, voice cracking. What yours and mine? This entire princely household belongs to my father and mother. You are nothing but a little whelp. What do you understand? He jabbed a finger at Yu Yu, then at me. And you, a filthy foot-washing maid who climbed up to be a secondary consort. My mother's generosity put food in your mouths, allowed you to remain in Xiaoxiang court. That was grace enough. Yet you dare to covet what is not yours. He drew a ragged breath, as if determined to spit out every drop of scorn the princess consort had poured into him. Girls should act like girls. What use is studying medicine, foul, filthy herbs? Parading yourself in public, shameful. My mother is right. You should learn needlework, prepare to wed into a proper household, and stop dreaming in broad daylight. When he finished, he shoved past us, head held high, and stalked away. Gods above, that little wretch, such a poisonous tongue. Whatever the princess consort has stuffed into his head. Annoying to hear, but was he wrong? A girl, no matter how learned, what can she do? What can she do? What would he have claimed if not for the little princess's efforts? It's over. The male lead is truly beyond saving. And the look in the princess's eyes, how frightening. Yu Yu stood listening, but she did not retort as she had in the main hall. She only watched Xiao Duanwen go, her gaze cooling, turning as cold as a frozen lake. Back in Xiaoxiang court, Yu Yu sat before the medicine shelf for a long time, silent. Mother, she said at last, voice low but fierce, today I understand. In the eyes of this world, the worth of a woman lies only in making wedding robes for men. But I refuse. I want to prove a woman can heal the sick, can govern a state, can stand proudly beneath the sky. She lifted her head. In her eyes blazed a fire that seemed ready to burn every injustice to ash. I no longer wish to study medicine alone. Healing can save some lives, but only governing can save the realm. I want all women to have the right to learn, to strive, to live as boldly as any man, unfettered by the accident of birth, to govern the state, to save the world, to open the sky itself to women. Such a vision, in this age, was no different than the dream of a madman. But as I met the fierce, unshakable light in her gaze, I only felt calm. Very well, I whispered, smiling softly. I believe in you. You will do it. Did I hear that right? The little princess wants to govern the state. Is she planning to seize the throne? Huh. The wicked woman and her daughter, a pair of lunatics. One dares to dream, the other dares to believe. Governing the state. With a basket of herbs. Laughable. It's over. The wicked woman has dragged the child entirely off course. Wait and see. Watch them dash their heads against the stone. The bullet screen boiled over like a flood. But I remembered all you had done in secret through the years. Remembered that rosewood chest of gold, multiplied 100-fold over time. And in my heart, there was only quiet, unshakable faith. From that day forward, you no longer studied medicine openly. The scent of herbs slowly faded from Xiaoshan court. In its place came histories the household dismissed as miscellaneous scrolls, gazetteers, treatises on agriculture, and even tattered old manuals of war. You read them all, as though starved, never resting. As for Xiao Duanwen, his life grew ever more troubled. The prince's expectations and disappointments rose in tandem, while the princess consort's anxieties turned ever harsher. He became sullen, quick to anger, venting his frustrations on servants. His studies and martial training alike fell into ruin. His reputation among the royal clan and the court sank lower by the day. In time, even the old emperor spoke bluntly before the prince. This child cannot be entrusted with anything. The bullet screen turned from anxious to despondent. This male lead is done for. No saving him. The princess consort took a winning hand and smashed it to pieces. Better to expect a sow to climb a tree than to expect anything of him. But opportunity often hides within disaster. When Yu turned 16, the north was struck by a great drought. Fields cracked to dust, pastures burned to ash, and wave upon wave of refugees drifted south to the capital. The court's relief efforts were weak and corrupted by graft. Outside the city walls, cries of hunger rose day and night. Disease began to spread. Within the princely household, everyone lived in fear that the starving masses might soon storm the city gates. The princess consort was tangled in her own chaos, trying to preserve the house's dignity, fretting over Xiao Duanwen's ever-worsening failures before the prince. She had no time left to so much as glance toward Xiaoshan court. "Mother," Yu said quietly, lowering a secret report detailing the famine and the movements of the displaced, "the opportunity has come. Xiao Duanwen and the princess consort, they cannot resolve this crisis. But we can help them solve part of it, and ensure the right people see who we are." She moved swiftly, laying out a plan. Distribute porridge and medicine. Record, even briefly, the names of each soul aided, especially those with skills. Men who had served as clerks or bailiffs in their villages, artisans now driven from their homes. Through those lists, Yu began to select and recruit. A destitute scholar who had once managed border records. A river engineer who understood irrigation, crushed under corrupt officials. Young laborers exiled by poverty. Each was quietly relocated to a small estate I had long since purchased outside the city. As the refugee crisis worsened, some bands began raiding government granaries. The court raged. The prince grew restless, cursing his useless officials. The princess consort looked as though a storm cloud had settled on her brow. Under that crushing pressure, Xiao Duanwen fell ill, feverish, delirious, muttering ceaselessly. Amid the turmoil, a volume titled 10 Measures for Famine Relief appeared upon the prince's desk, lucid, precise, striking straight to the heart of the matter. To the prince, it was a treasure. He convened his strategists at once, disregarding all objections, and began implementing the recommendations step by step. Results came swiftly. On the next court assembly, the emperor himself praised the prince by name. The clouds over the household lifted in an instant. Incredible! Where did such strategy come from? They say there is a wondrous treatise behind it. Who wrote it? No one knows. Some hidden scholar, perhaps. The prince must have a great advisor. Could it be the princess consort? Impossible. She has been too preoccupied with the heir's decline. The bullet screen grew wild with speculation. Even the prince, bewildered, ordered a secret inquiry to discover the author. The trail, faint and uncertain, finally pointed to Xiaoshan court. And so the prince himself came, his eyes probing, stepping into a place he had not entered in years. But what he found was not a resentful concubine, nor a timid girl hiding behind her mother. "Father." Yu stepped forward, composed and unflinching, and offered a graceful bow. "That plan," she said evenly, "was written by me. I know my station is low, but I could not bear to watch the people scattered, plague spreading, while the court floundered and this house despaired. I have always loved to read histories, treatises on agriculture, accounts of local governance. From these, and the reports of this year's calamity, I dared to compile a few humble suggestions and ask someone to deliver them to you. I only wished to lighten your burden and to relieve the people's suffering. If I have overstepped, I beg your punishment." Her voice was steady, her reasoning flawless, her ambition sheathed neatly within filial piety and compassion, leaving not a drop to slip through. Heavens above, it was the little princess. Impossible. A reversal shaking heaven and earth. Wasn't she just a girl playing with herbs? When did she become this formidable? The princess consort and the heir, their faces must be burning. This is the true Daeon among mortals. The prince has found a priceless gem. The bullet screen burst apart, every past sneer buried under the weight of this truth. The prince did not rebuke her, nor did he ask when she had learned so much. He only gazed at you for a long time, then spoke in a low voice. "Where you have done well. This matter must not be made public. But in the future, if you have such insights, come to the study and present them to me." With that step, Yu at last crossed the threshold, out of Xiaoxiang Court's shadow, into the very heart of the princely household, the study. Though she was only to submit her opinions, that door had been opened. With his tacit permission, or rather, his willingness to use her talent, Yu gained far greater freedom of action. She could openly read reports and dispatches, review local records, even sit in on certain meetings unrelated to state secrets. In those gatherings, she revealed a keen eye for detail, a mind practiced in solving real problems. The prince came to respect her counsel more and more, eventually entrusting her with managing the estate's lands. Yu seized every opportunity, step by step cleansing and legitimizing the network she had quietly cultivated. The old scholar became a records officer in the outer court. The river engineer was appointed to oversee irrigation on several farms. The young laborers were absorbed into the princely guard. Through them, Yu wove a discreet, far-reaching web of intelligence, its threads spreading across the capital, even seeping into the households of certain officials. As Yuyu's influence over the household grew, Xiao Duanwen felt an ever-deepening sense of dread. She is only a girl, he thought, teeth clenched. By what right does she meddle in the affairs of this house? He seized his attendant by the collar, hissing through clenched teeth. Has father forgotten who the true heir of this house is? I will see her ruined, disgraced beyond redemption. That year, at the mid-autumn banquet, the prince sat in the seat of honor, with the princess consort and I flanking him left and right. Yu had just finished presenting a plan for restoring the farmlands after the famine. Suddenly, Xiao Duanwen rose to his feet, knocking over his wine cup. "Father." His face was flushed scarlet, his voice trembling with fervor. "Your son has something of utmost importance to report concerning Xiao Yu's parentage. I have uncovered a secret that will shake the heavens." The princess consort's brow furrowed. She opened her mouth to scold him for his impropriety, but the prince lifted a hand, bidding her hold her peace. Yu set down her teacup, regarding him without the slightest ripple, just as if she had long expected that this rabid dog, cornered, would bite at anything. "Oh." The prince's tone was inscrutable. "What insight does the heir have to offer? She is not your blood at all." Xiao Duanwen brandished a sheaf of papers, jabbing a finger at me. "She is a bastard, born of this concubine's adultery with her cousin. Xiao Yu is the spawn of that affair, smuggled into the household under false pretense. To allow such a creature to meddle in the affairs of this house is an affront to you, father, an insult to the ancestors themselves." The princess consort's face blanched. "Silence," she cried, voice cracking. "You fool, are you mad? These forgeries are laughable. The ink doesn't even match. Gods, all this poison just for the sake of power." I did not rise from my seat. My fingertips tightened slightly on the armrest, but I only watched Yu. She met my gaze, shook her head minutely, as if to say there was no need to be angered. The prince's eyes lingered on the pile of evidence, his expression turning slowly colder, then sour, and finally scornful. He did not so much as pick up a single page. He merely looked first at me, then at Xiao Duanwen's twisted, triumphant face. "Xiao Duanwen," he said, his voice like frost, "are you prepared to swear that this evidence is genuine?" "It is true, utterly true." "Good." He flicked his hand. "Men, arrest this wretch." It was Xiao Duanwen who was seized. He stared at the prince in horror. "Father." The prince laughed, a cold, bitter sound. Years ago, when your mother gave birth the same day as the princess consort, she bore a daughter, and the concubine bore a son. Since you claim to possess proof that she cuckolded me, then I have no reason to doubt you, and no reason to spare you, either." His face drained of all color. The papers slipped from his hand, fluttering to the floor like withered leaves. "No, no, it cannot be. I am the heir, the son of the principal wife." He fell to his knees, staring up at the prince's icy gaze. "Father, spare me. These papers are lies. I only wanted to ruin her. He collapsed forward, groveling, tears and snot streaking his face. The prince's mouth curled in disgust. "Your conduct today has shown me, utterly, how foolish and vicious you have become. From this moment on, you are confined to Stillness Hall. Without my explicit leave, you will not set foot beyond it. And the forgers, find them, and punish them to the full extent." Xiao Duanwen was dragged away, still gasping. "No, no, impossible. I am the heir. I am the rightful heir." The look he gave me as they pulled him out was so venomous it seemed he would devour me alive. You came to stand at my side. Gently, she clasped my hand. Her palm was warm, steady, like her voice. "Mother, it's over." I shook my head faintly. Xiao Duanwen, the rabid dog warped by a lifetime of misguidance, at last, he was paying the price for his own folly. When Yu turned 18, the empire was thrown into upheaval. The emperor fell gravely ill. With the prince commanding real military power, he immediately became the object of every faction's schemes. And just then, a lethal accusation was leveled, claiming the prince was conspiring with frontier generals to rebel. The evidence looked damning. The emperor flew into a rage and ordered a full investigation. In an instant, the princely household was plunged into chaos. Everyone was terrified. The princess consort wandered the halls in a daze. Xiao Duanwen hid in his quarters, too petrified to appear. The prince was placed under house arrest. The officials who once flocked to him fell over themselves to disclaim any association. The bullet screen was full of wails. "It's over. The house is doomed. Where is the male lead? Hiding again, no doubt. And the princess? She was supposed to be so clever. Where is she now?" At the height of the crisis, Yu stepped forward. She was calm, so calm it chilled the air. Before the prince's bleak gaze, she laid out her analysis point by point, identifying the true threads of the conspiracy and how to sever them. She explained how to placate the court, how to isolate the accusers, how to reassert the household standing. In that moment, she revealed herself fully, her strategic acumen, her boldness in the teeth of disaster, her command of critical relationships. The prince and his closest advisors, men who had long dismissed the idea of a woman in politics, looked at her with dawning awe. Gods above, she really is saving the entire house. This finesse, this resolve, unmatched. And the heir, still cowering in his chambers, likely pissing himself. And the princess consort, vanished for the whole day. The little princess, has she become untouchable? The bullet screen erupted, a flood of astonishment and reverence. After that battle, Yu's place in the princely household transformed beyond recognition. The prince no longer saw her as merely a daughter with strong opinions. She was now his indispensable confidant, his keenest mind. Matters once reserved for the heir increasingly came to her hands, or she was entrusted with full authority to decide them. She, a woman, now held not just a fragment, but a vast share of the power and resources of the princely household. She continued to expand the Enlightenment school she had founded. Its scale grew ever larger, and she began to teach more practical knowledge, quietly cultivating a cadre of people loyal to her alone. In managing the princely estates, she enacted policies of low taxes and light labor, dug irrigation channels, and improved livelihoods. The farms that bore her name became renowned across the land for their prosperity. The people remembered her grace and would never forget it. My gaze followed Yu's figure, watching her steps steadily toward the goal she had once whispered to me. When she turned 19, the northern frontier was invaded by barbarian tribes. The borderlands fell into crisis. The court, mired in factional strife, offered no coherent response. Provisions were insufficient, strategies useless. Yu seized the moment. She presented an urgent memorial to the prince. "Father, the court has rotted through. If the frontier falls, the nation itself will cease to exist. When the roof collapses, No egg can remain whole beneath it. Rather than await ruin, let us act. I am willing to go to the front myself. 1. To shoulder the burden of the realm. 2. To seize this chance to command an army that is truly ours. The prince weighed the risks, then finally nodded. In the name of distributing rewards to the troops and inspiring morale, Yu departed, taking with her vast supplies amassed by the princely household, an elite guard, and a mandate to bring relief. In the northern theater, Yu revealed abilities and an authority that stunned all. She did not fear hardship. She entered the camps herself, bandaging the wounded with her own hands, living and dying alongside the soldiers. The grain and medicine she brought relieved the army's direst shortages. Her just, clear-handed governance, her measured rewards and punishments, won the troops' fervent respect. The little princess at the northern front, she's become a legend. The soldiers call her the Bodhisattva in armor, the young strategist. Her prestige, even the prince cannot rival it. When she returned to the capital, bearing resounding victories and the allegiance of 100,000 northern soldiers, her reputation had reached its zenith. After the old emperor's passing, the prince was crowned in due course, and Yu was proclaimed crown princess. Heavens above, she truly did it. From an obscure child in the princely household, to the founder of a dynasty, a woman who rewrote fate itself. The bullet screen that had once scorned her as a dreamer, surely their faces were stinging now. No, your majesty, you must not. The new empress nearly collapsed on the palace steps, shrieking. Xiao Yu, she is a woman. How can she ascend to the eastern palace? How can she inherit the throne? This is a hen crowing at dawn, an affront to all order, an insult to heaven. Where is the ancestral law? Where is the ritual code? Tears streamed down her face. Her hand, trembling, pointed at Yu, standing calm below the dais. She flung every precedent she could name, every vilest accusation ever hurled at women in power, trying, in her final frenzy, to tear the Dayan robes from Yu's shoulders. Good Lord, she's gone mad. Isn't that her own flesh and blood she's cursing? To rail at the crown princess in full court, does she want to die? Calling it a hen crowing. Truly she has shattered all pretense. Her son is worthless. How dare she scold the princess? No, the crown princess. She's lost her mind. A lifetime of scheming, only to have her son fail, to taste utter defeat. She could not bear it. The new emperor sat upon the Dayan throne, his face dark. He, too, had hesitated. He, too, feared what it meant to elevate a woman. But more than anyone, he knew the terrifying power she held. More than half the wealth of the realm, and the loyalty of 100,000 northern veterans, were hers alone to command. Without her assent, could he, the new emperor, move a single man? From ladling porridge at the gates of Xiaoshan court, to her schools for the displaced, to the thriving estates that bore her name, to the countless lives she had saved along the border. The title Lady Yu, the Bodhisattva princess, had already been etched into the people's hearts. Some honored her more than the emperor himself. Enough. The emperor slammed his hand on the Dayan armrest. Imperial authority surged over the court like a tempest. His gaze turned to the kneeling empress, voice cold as steel. You forget yourself. To weep and rail in court, to slander the crown princess. This is rank insubordination. Guards. Golden-armored soldiers stepped forward. Take the empress. His eyes flicked toward Yu's calm, unwavering face. To the Jade Consort's apartments. Until further decree, she is not to step outside. Strip her of her seals of office and empress regalia. The regalia shall be held by the crown princess. No, your majesty, you cannot. I did this for you, for the great Chu. She is a demon. She will destroy our house. The empress was dragged away, struggling, shrieking, her phoenix hairpins scattering across the floor. The emperor exhaled, surveying the hushed assembly. At last, his gaze rested on Yu. His voice was solemn, resolute. The appointment of the crown princess is a matter I have weighed with utmost care. For the sake of this dynasty, Crown Princess Xiao Yu, her virtue and talent are unparalleled. Her service surpasses all others. She holds the people's hearts. From this day forth, her word is my word. She shall govern in my name. Any who dare dispute the crown princess's authority, any who wield womanhood as a pretext to undermine the state, shall be deemed traitors and punished without mercy. The cry of 10,000 years thundered through the hall, louder, more unified than when he himself ascended the throne. This time, no voice dissented. Yu Yu inclined her head in a composed bow to the throne, graceful and unshaken. Then she lifted her gaze, meeting all the eyes upon her, respectful, wary, resigned. She accepted their obeisance as if it were no more than her due. The die was cast. The empress was finished. The new emperor had chosen, the one who understood the times. With both power and wealth in her grasp, who could defy her now? A hen crowing at dawn. Forgive me, this hen's claws now hold the empire itself. Crown Princess, 10,000 years. Great Shu, 10,000 years. Let the old fossils choke on their own bile. The age of the empress had dawned. Yes, Yu Yu, my daughter. At last, she had shattered every chain. She stood upon the highest peak of the world. Her era had only just begun. Epilogue, Xiao Duanwen. I sat in the freezing dark of Stillness Hall for 3 days. 3 days in which the whole capital buzzed with one rumor. Father had appointed a crown princess. And that name was Xiaoyu, the one my mother had once scorned as a worthless scrap of flesh. The girl I had despised more than any creature alive. Those 3 characters, crown princess, burned like iron in my chest. The man in the bronze mirror had hollow eyes, cracked lips. He looked nothing like a 20-year-old heir. It wasn't meant to be this way. I remembered, so clearly. In the last life, I had been born from the womb of that wretched foot-washing maid. That pathetic, spineless woman who had clung to me like a stain. I had hated her. Hated her for giving me such a low birth. Hated her for lacking the power to let me hold my head high. And so I killed her. With a sword cold as ice, I pierced her heart. And then, I think yes, that little princess, Xiaoyu, she was called that even then. She led the rebel army into the palace. She pointed her blade at me. And she called me a traitor who had murdered his own mother. And she cut off my head. But why? Why in this life am I the princess consort's son? And Xiaoyu still climbs to the crown. It wasn't supposed to be this way. Why was I reborn only to suffer this ending again? Is this retribution? No, she deserved to die. A worthless maid had no right to be my mother. But then, why? When I saw her gentle care for Xiaoyu, why did my heart ache so? That love, that throne, they should have been mine. Mine. What? He was reborn, too. No wonder he was so twisted. He was always the madman who killed his own mother. Good heavens, the male lead was the villain all along. Xiao Duanwen's mind is shattered, still dreaming of overturning fate. Laughable. The crown princess holds all under heaven. What can you do? A chill crawled up my spine. Truly, like mother, like son. The princess consort had raised a heart steeped in venom. A sudden noise came at the door. Who's there? Don't play games. I snarled. My lord. The eunuch called softly. I've come to escort you on your final journey. You still live, and Her Highness the Crown Princess will never rest easy. Who dares? I am the heir. You cannot. My lord. The eunuch sighed. Surely you jest. All the world knows. The Empress is the Crown Princess's mother. The poison burned through me, searing agony. Mother, save me. I regret it truly. If there is another life, I only wish to kneel at your feet and never leave you again. The end.